Welcome back to the Pleb Underground. Happy Friday. We are the Signal without the slop. I am your host, Phil. Guys, I told you it was going to have an awesome episode today. Not going to let you down. I have brought the organizer and I'd say the creator of TABconf onto the show, Mike Tidwell. He has been on the show before. He's a fellow Bitcoiner and friend, and I'm super happy to have him join us. I'm going to bring him on. Say hello, Mike.
Hey, everybody.
Am I close? Was I close to being right? You're the organizer, the creator of TABconf. You have a partner in this?
Yeah, founder, organizer. We've every year have done it. Pretty much have had help through one or two plus people. So,
for instance, what year is this for TABconf?
This is going to be our 8th year, 7th conference. We skipped 2020 because of COVID, but our 7th conference, 8th year. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I feel like the whole world kind of skipped a beat, right? In 2020. So look, we are going to talk about TABconf. We're also going to get into some contentious issues in the space. Also, you've got your Block Space podcast that you're going to tell us about. That's right. Block Time. Sorry. Close enough. Block Space, Block Time. Doesn't matter, man. It's paper Bitcoin summer, right? Block Time. Block Space.
That's like another company.
It is. That's okay. Anyways, guys, we are going to dive into all of this fun stuff. But before we do, you know the deal. We got to show some love to the Pleb Underground sponsor, and we are going to be right back. Let's do this. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. Now, Mike, I just want to point out here before you get started, Nate B for Bacon exposed what the 2020 TABconf was really like. Can you confirm or deny this allegation of the basement?
Yeah, 2020 TABconf was just Nate and me hanging out in the basement doing Bitcoin stuff is what we called it. You know, we're just doing beef or bacon. That's a game just between Nate and me. I'd rather not share it publicly. You know,
some Bitcoin, some $5 Bitcoin stuff. That's okay. We get it. Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate it. Okay, so I'm debating where to start, right? Do we want to just
masterfully?
Do we want to start right away diving into the TABconf stuff, or do we first want to piss some people off and talk about the Knots versus Core drama? All depends.
I guess pissing people off because they're already tired of hearing it, or pissing people off because we're going to say something controversial.
Yes. Both.
Or both.
Okay. Yeah. It's going to be both. It's definitely going to be both. So yeah, I definitely I'd like to get your thoughts. Let's start off with the Bitcoin Core versus Not stuff. Let's thoroughly, piss people off first, and then we'll dive into the fun stuff of what's going on at TABconf and your podcast, Block Time.
Yeah.
Am I close?
Yeah, no, you nailed it. I even have the Block Time Wheel of Destiny here.
Am I ever going to get to be a guest on that show or not?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm putting you on the spot.
We're taking guests. We're currently accepting new patients. So,
my wife is a therapist, so technically, this is a natural fit for me to end up on a show like that. All right. Anyways, so very curious. Not versus Core. Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, so the summary, I understand it, is there's you kind of have to, it's kind of like Republicans and Democrats with identity politics, like where if you're like in favor of one thing, you sort of get lumped into like thinking a bunch of different things. So automatically, if you like the idea of Core, you're lumped into, hey, it's because of, you also like this, you also like this, you're also, you like to see your wife get banged, in front of you, all kinds of stuff. Just kidding. That's a joke.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? To each their own.
Whatever. But it's kind of like I mean, we can talk about like maybe some new stuff that just happened. So Merch just made a post that was kind of interesting, where he showed the diff between core and nuts and showed that it was over 1,000 commits off and 20,000 line diffs, whatever, in total. Which I think is kind of like people are kind of surprised about because they thought knots was pretty close to core, like in terms like it was actually closer.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not that's significant, I don't know. I haven't looked at these commits and the significance of them or whatever, or how much impact they're actually going to have. But yeah, the general gist of it is, you know, as far as I see it, is you have people that think it's, you know, it's the responsibility of, you know, I mean, I wish I thought about this more before I started talking about it. It's like the response, like it's like they're taking it upon themselves to say, hey, it's our responsibility to kind of protect the network, and like this is spam that's intolerable and slippery slope stuff where if you let this happen, it's just, you know, the project eventually is just getting destroyed and stuff like this. You know, I think if you're on the side of core, you're, in my opinion, taking a way more rational approach to this. You're saying, hey, this is actually, when bad things happen, we actually at that point in time we are going to address it, not preemptively say like, hey, this is necessarily a slippery slope where this is going to destroy the project. As bad things come up, we address them, and not proactively optimize ahead of time to, you know, to say, hey, we lost the culture of Bitcoin. You know, this is going to destroy Bitcoin, stuff like this. I think Core is keeping it more technical and Knots is keeping it more philosophical.
I've noticed that divide as well.
Yeah, but it is also very misleading because Mechanic and Luke sort of have loud voices, so it's easy to make it seem like the technical, you know, community is sort of divided on this, but really in actuality it's Knots is a super minority in terms of technical side of things. It's mainly a lot of people who, like, everyone wants to, like if you are a Bitcoiner and you're passionate, you want to like do what you can to save the project, or to, like, if people that you look up to are saying, hey, your project is being attacked and it's going to get killed because of these reasons, that is going to, you know, action you, as it should, into some sort of like, hey, I need to get involved in this. And I feel like that's sort of what's happening with people running Knots.
So let me ask you
like
this:
people want to feel like people want to do something, right? They just want to bend over and let their project die if that's what's, you know, they're being told is what's going to happen.
Exactly, right? If that's what they're being told is what's going to happen, and it is indeed the narrative that's being spread. However, you know, I find in any of these situations, right, I feel like there's some people that essentially are just looking to pick a side, and then you have people who genuinely want to understand both sides of the argument in order to be accurate in the way that we think about this. So this is where we get into the whole technical versus philosophical, right? I'm seeing a lot of appeals to emotion, and I see that again, mostly, unfortunately, I see this mostly from the Knots proponents. But then I also see a lot of ad hominem attacks, obviously on both sides, right? And when you go into the ad hominem attacks, essentially you lose the point, right? Like you kind of lose the argument, because if my next thing to say to you about Knots versus Core is that what you think is stupid or that's retarded, I mean, that's not really an argument, right? Like we're not having like that. That's no longer a fruitful discussion. You know, so
I would say in person, Luke has been very consistent and patient explaining his thoughts. So I've talked to him for over an hour just on this. I haven't had that opportunity with Mechanic. I think Mechanic is sort of like on defense. He's maybe getting bombarded too much. Maybe he like considers everyone trying to engage with him honestly as a potential, you know, like as a potential attack, which maybe, you know, you're constantly being attacked. I mean, it makes sense. Luke has been very easy to talk to in person. I have not had the chance to do that with Mechanic. I've done that with Chris Guido Guida.
Oh yeah, of course.
For over an hour, and I have a really strong feeling I understand their points of view very well. After talking to them for so long, the only exception that the only like main character of the Knots crew or the filters, fix the filters crew is Mechanic that I haven't really talked to, so I can't really know exactly what he thinks except what he says publicly. But yeah, I don't necessarily think. Sorry,
is he coming to TABconf?
Probably not. I've invited him, but I don't know if he will. I think he's like he also doesn't want to get like I said. I think he's like he feels like that's just another opportunity for him to get attacked. I don't know. Like he's probably like constant, like he's on defense, I think, and he's also like marketing Ocean. Like he's trying to do a good job, and like I think him like probably like the mental stress of coming to TABconf is probably not going to be something that he's interested in. Maybe I don't know. Like I would love for him to come, obviously, because I want him to feel like he has a place to have his voice be heard. But we kind of already did that at Bitcoin Plus Plus in Austin this year, and I don't really think I don't think anything was actually I don't think anything was done besides deepening the divide and separating the camps even further. I think it was very entertaining for people to watch it. I don't think there's anything else that actually came out of it. And you see like the Ocean crew is pretty tightly knit. And you see pretty much a lot of people that are fans of them kind of like with them, and like not a whole lot of people wanting to change their minds and stuff. So and I also feel like there's this idea where it's like everyone's kind of full of shit, like from both sides. So yeah, it's really like my theory is if Mechanic did want to come to TABconf and we wanted to have some sort of conversation, we would want to put it in like I would be interested in actually trying to make something fruitful out of that. I don't know what that format looks like, but because I don't think I'm going to need to organize that because I don't think it's going to happen. But if it did, I would obviously take a different approach than some sort of debate style. I think a fireside chat is actually, and just really understanding what people want to do without them feeling attacked is actually the way to go about this. Because I think at the end of the day, we all sort of want the same thing, which is Bitcoin success. And people just are, this is one of the most interesting passion projects for a lot of people. Some people have made this their religion. And unfortunately, I would say, and you're going to get a lot of emotions just about everything, and which lead to conspiracies, which lead to a lot of deep resentment towards groups of people. And I think what we're really missing is just letting Luke on stage for an hour talk unfiltered to express his ideas, which we haven't really seen, I think, with a moderator that is pointed and also not hostile.
It's a good point. Very good points. Nate is asking this before we move to the next question. Are sub 1 stats per V-byte going to trigger the mining death spiral? I don't think it will. What are your thoughts?
I think as long as Bitcoin's going up in price, I don't think this is going to happen. But I mean, I think there is an idea where, the reward subsidy gets low and fees get low, and then you just have overall less security for Bitcoin, which means you're just going to need to wait for more confirmations to get the security that you think is needed, which changes some assumptions. So if you do have reliable layer 2s that are pegged in really early to block heights that are really deep, this doesn't necessarily become a problem in terms of actually transacting. But if you're trying to do on-chain stuff, it's just going to be something where it's like, hey, similar to a wire or ACH, you have to wait 3 days before this clears. Like we're just kind of reinventing the same sort of delays that we already have in our current banking system. So I think it's just going to be something where as security increases, your delays go down, and as security lessens, you have to wait longer to feel like things have actually cleared. And for actual transactions, you're going to need to use deeply, embedded UTXOs that are like really, really, old. Like, when I say really old, tens of thousands of, height deep, where it's just like, hey, we know this isn't going to get reorged. In terms of like death spiral for miners. I think mining is a vicious business, and we're going to have ebbs and flows with massive exodus and massive entries as hardware becomes cheaper, as price changes. And, you know, I'm not in the mining business because of that, because it's so damn risky. I mean, some people say real estate is a risky investment because, you know, things can happen that are out of your control, natural disasters, policy changes, war, whatever it might be, environmental changes, and it can overnight change the value of properties in an area from like to almost zero. And mining is the same thing. It's there's no risk to mining when the price is going up and everything looks good. And that's how, you know, people I'm saying, like, mining is a very risky business. So it's like I think we're just going to have a lot of things that look like catastrophes from the outside, but we're just Bitcoin is resilient and will survive anyway, so it doesn't matter.
They're just nothing burgers. And this is kind of like what we've seen right throughout the history of Bitcoin. I just want to switch gears, go back to the Knots versus Core stuff. So I don't know if you saw this post from CB Spears, but essentially it looks like the majority of the funding for both Core and Knots come from Jack Dorsey. Now,
yeah, I love that. I love the meme where they shoot seeing the missiles. You know,
was that not fantastic?
Yeah, I think Reindell post.
Yes,
yeah,
like
best meme. I retweeted it actually.
Oh yeah,
loved it.
It's so good. I mean, it's being funded by the same. It's being funded by the same person. Like, why are we pretending? Like, so this is why I have such a hard time when I see posts about, you know, Core being compromised and there's malware, Core's malware, you know, stuff like that. And it's like, you guys, like, this is where, in my eyes, people lose credibility at that point, right? Just because, like, it's like none of this is real. So, what are your thoughts? Does that even have an effect that Jack is literally funding both implementations?
Yeah, unlike the military industrial complex or Mossad, he doesn't profit necessarily from this, but like, you know, whatever conspiracy. I'm just saying whatever conspiracy you want to subscribe to. I'm not saying, you know, whatever. Anyways,
it's live. You can't take it
back. Whatever. I'm just saying, like, whatever conspiracy, Illuminati conspiracy you want to subscribe to, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Jack stands to profit from any of this. Now, the conspiracy is, you know, this was just the long 4D chess game to activate CTV, which we discovered yesterday from Luke's tweet. So this is Jack Dorsey actually needed to fund both sides of this war for us to actually activate CTV. And Jack's just playing 4D chess. So this is actually just the long-term goal here.
That was my next question to you. That was exactly my next question. Is this all just a giant psyop to keep us from actually activating CTV and covenants? Because I remember being at BTC++ last year, and we were having these, or was it last year or the year before? I don't even remember anymore. Pretty sure it was 2024. We were having this conversation. And I feel like we've made zero progress. Like, when I was actually there, I felt like the next day the needle was going to move, right? It was one of those things. It was so intense that it's like, man, within a week, we're going to start to see the needle move. And now here we are over a year later, and we're arguing about implementations. I feel like
I mean,
it's
definitely, you know, I think a lot of people saw that BTC++, like, when I sort of talked to people about it, weren't necessarily too happy that it seemed like we were sort of saying, like, this is what's going to happen sort of idea. It's really funny to like understand the politics of Bitcoin and how things get activated, and how if you're never going to make any, it's like, you know how there's like that trope where it's like, hey, you're never going to make everyone happy, or like that, there's like the common phrase or whatever, you know what I'm talking about? In Bitcoin, it's more like you're never going to make anyone happy, like, ever.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's just so it's like, it's not even about like making, like, hey, you're never going to make everyone happy. It's just, you're never going to make anyone happy, I feel like, with Bitcoin.
I agree.
And that's why I think it's so hard to get something like CTV rolling, because you're going to have a lot of prominent people for instance, that felt like they weren't included in that conversation or didn't have a chance to voice it, or says this is not how things happen because of these philosophy reasons or because of these technical reasons. And it's just like, I feel like there's never a good answer. And I think the obvious like thing that people understand is like, oh, it's rough consensus. And, we can't really ever define what that is, because then that's an attack vector if you define the process. And then you're sort of like in this catch-22 where it's like, well, then how do we do anything if I want to like get something across the board? And it's like, then some people are like, well, this is a feature, not a bug, because now Bitcoin can't be overtaken easily, by special interests. So there's, it's just
Nate's saying we're never getting.
What'd you say?
Nate's saying we're never getting this.
I think we're at 17% there, according to Luke's tweet. We're 17% there. As soon as Knots gets enough for a UASF, according to Luke, we're activating CTV. I mean, obviously he didn't say that, but that was the implied tweet, right? Is as soon as we get enough for a UASF, we're activating CTV via Knots nodes.
Does core not? Is there like a consensus that Bitcoin core devs don't want CTV? I'm just trying to figure, because you framed it as knots, so I'm just trying to figure out like
I would say a lot of core devs are pro CTV and a lot of core devs are skeptical of CTV. And one of the main things that I in my conversations is it's not a whole lot of fun to potentially change Bitcoin and open up a lot of features dramatically when every year, if you wait, and this is me playing devil's advocate from the point of view of said core dev, right? Hey, just wait a year and now the spec has completely changed. Now you want CTV plus CSFS. Now you want CTV plus L enhanced. Now you want CTV. And then it's just like, it's like we're not, obviously, like from their point of view, it's like, hey, we're obviously rushing this. If every 6 months we are deciding, hey, there's a way better way to implement this, or there's a way better, CTV plus, like this extra thing, which is actually going to be way more useful. So you have that sort of ideals, right? Where it's like, hey, this feels rushed. And then you have some people where it's like, hey, we don't live 1,000 years. We're not like elves in Lord of the Rings. Our lifespan is 100 years or less. This is not rushed. This is actually, like we are going slow. So you have like people that think we're going slow. You have people thinking, 10 years is fast. 10 years is slow, whatever. I am optimistic to have, that Bitcoin is not done and that we have, features and soft forks to push to open up capabilities in Bitcoin. So I am optimistic. And I think you kind of have to stay optimistic or it doesn't happen. I know this is like nothing to do with Bitcoin, but similarly, I remember, I'm going to bring up something like similarly. I remember talking to a lot of people that Ross Ulbricht was not going to get freed. Trump was never going to deliver on his promise. This just wasn't going to happen. And I just feel like, well, if everyone feels that way, that's probably like what happens. Like you, like things, like if everyone has this like, oh, it's never going to happen, then it never happens. Like I bring up the thing because it's like, who the fuck is this Trump person going to release this person actually do what he said he's going to do, right? Like, how can we trust that? Like, I feel like, how can we trust Bitcoin? Bitcoin hasn't soft forked in this many years. They'll never do it again. Like, if everyone has the attitude that things won't change and that things suck, then things suck. And we have no optimistic people to actually push things forward. You actually have to have enough people optimistic to make a change. And as soon as you kill, like, I feel like this is like a psyop. When you kill like the motivation of a society and a community, then you like control them. And I think to fight this, you stay optimistic, you build, you go to Bitcoin plus, you go to the TABconf, you stay engaged on the mailing list, you ask good questions, and you don't try to distract people from doing work. And you stay optimistic because you're building towards the thing that you want. You're not just sitting back and saying, oh, there's nothing we can do. The world sucks. It's controlled by the lizard people. You know what I'm trying to say? Like everything's
Yes,
controlled by
absolutely.
Mossad, everything's controlled by Israel, everything's controlled by Epstein's,
Client
Illuminati
list.
group. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's like, well, if you want to just give up, then give up. Don't come to TABconf, in October 13th through 16th and help make a better world.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Um,
I think the word you were looking for, or at least this is the way I would
sure.
describe it,
Yeah.
is learned helplessness, right? That this is kind of what ends up happening, and the other thing I wanted to say was, the quote is the opposite of courage is not cowardice, but conformity. Right. And that's exactly what it is, right? People essentially end up censoring themselves. So double-edged sword. We are social creatures, right? So you don't want to be disliked or outed out of the group, right? Because think about it, as a tribe, if you were pushed out of the group, it meant you weren't going to get any of the food from the hunting or any of that stuff, right? You weren't going to have access to the tribe's resources. So your goal is always to fit in, right? To be a part of that group. And if being a part of that group means denying something that is actually good or something that is beneficial to everyone, well, look, this is where you get into the learned helplessness, and unfortunately, I do see that. I see that actually happening here in Bitcoin. I can tell you, it's from when I came into the space in 2017, there was a lot more vocal accounts, people willing to draw their line in the sand, right? And there were people that were also equally as courageous to stand next to them and make their points. And I'm referring, specifically, if we're talking about examples, stuff like the block size war. Like that was a very contentious time. That was extremely difficult. Like there were people, who really believed they were all on the same team, and they weren't. And I think that spirit it's vital. It's vital to Bitcoin. And in all honesty, when I see comments from like Eastside Tony that that are saying like BlackRock wants to ossify Bitcoin, Sailor wants to ossify Bitcoin, I don't get worried about that. But I do get that sense of learned helplessness because, unfortunately, there's a lot of big game talking in this space, but yet everyone is folding over like leaves for all of these TradFi dollars. And I'm painting with a broad brush. Not everyone, but a lot of the biggest voices are just totally bending the fucking knee for fiat, the thing that supposedly we were going to supplant, right? So now it starts to look like this giant BS narrative. And so going back to your point, right, about going to these specific types of shows, right, like TABconf, that this is a place where I found actual signal, right? Instead of listening to all of this sales noise and this crap, you go to a place like this and you actually see what the builders are talking about. You actually see what concerns the builders have, right? And you actually get to see, if you're not a developer yourself, like me, I'm not a developer. You actually get to see how the conversation is taking place. And guess what? Like even someone like me gets to be a part of that conversation if I go to those types of events. So for the people who do think they have learned helplessness and they think you're just kind of going along, or you're just getting along to go along, you can actually go to these events and you can have fruitful conversations that can lead in a different direction, right? You don't just, this is something I remember when I came to Bitcoin, you don't have to be a dev to contribute to Bitcoin, right? Like I get that that's like the apex role in Bitcoin, but there's a lot of other roles that need to be filled. So anyways.
100%.
I was trying to make a sales pitch for TABconf, but it became this philosophical jumble. I tried.
Yeah. No, there's I mean, the goal of TABconf is not to just make TABconf successful, but to have a place for people to come together in person, find pain points between people building and people working on protocol and end users that actually use this stuff. So I do feel like it's an important sort of, having events like that in every continent is a very important thing. So
yeah,
you know,
the technical events, 100%. Now that I have experienced both in ad nauseum, I can honestly say that, this was actually what I said when I left BTC after that was over. It's the difference between sitting down and having a steak and eating McDonald's, right? You go to like, for real. You go to the sales conference, right? The Bitcoin conference, stuff like that.
Fighting words.
It's fucking fast food. You're going over there, you're eating the McDonald's. Sorry. I get that they have an open source stage. I get that, they do that. They throw, how could I say this? It's like throwing flowers, right? You're like, here you go. There's your little thing. You go play over there on the side while the big boys talk about the business and the money. It's
so
like,
we actually had Michael Saylor want to talk at TABconf, and he said he thought it would be good to address the devs and let them know some how Bitcoin is going to work and what should happen. And I said that's fine. Just submit a GitHub issue. I'm still waiting for him to submit that GitHub issue.
Okay.
He said he'll have a secretary do it. I was like, no, Saylor, you have to make an account and do it yourself. We're talking on the phone just before this podcast, and I was like, I'm sorry, Saylor, you have to submit this GitHub issue yourself if you want to participate. So, no one is above anyone, in my opinion, in terms of the submission process. So everyone's on equal footing. Just want to put that out there.
It's the funniest thing that you bring up, that GitHub submission, okay? Because I kid you not, this was one of my questions. So did you intentionally make this barrier to entry? Because look, I know I'm going to, it's going to sound stupid, but I don't care. Essentially, it blocks anyone who can't figure out how to make a GitHub submission from presenting at your conference or providing anything at your conference. It's pretty funny.
So what you don't know is what I have in common with Bitcoin knots is I love filters.
I knew it.
Yeah, no, but I think, like, for instance, we give out free tickets for people in need at the conference. In my opinion, we never tried to turn anyone away, especially if they're contributing or they literally just can't afford it.
Or we're begging.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it might be, we don't want to turn anyone away. We don't want to turn anyone away for any reason to TABconf because of the ticket. But you have to still do proof of work because we still send you an invoice for 8 Satoshis that you have to fulfill. So it's still something where it's like, there is a filter where it's like, hey, you can get a free ticket, figure out how to pay this 8 sat invoice. Otherwise, like, you still don't necessarily have a free ticket. So I think it's like important to say, like, look, I remember Jimmy Song having a filter for one of his classes, and one of the filters was you had to do some Python programming and do like some really minimal sort of, like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but you had to do like some really easy sort of trivial Python thing. And as soon as you saw that and you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that, then that was his way of like prevent like from getting like an onslaught of like just spam essentially. So
it's pretty smart.
Yeah.
You got me thinking though, that lightning invoice, is that a non-expiring one? I'm just asking.
It's so Nate's going to kill me. Yeah. Nate's going to kill me here. We're actually using OpenNode because, TABconf is a very much part-time passion project of mine that we're and also OpenNode has supported the conference in the past, and know the founders, and they have also given workshops in years past. So we're actually using the OpenNode service to just facilitate all those Lightning payments, so we don't have to worry about it. And those 8 sat invoices get regenerated through OpenNode service.
It's very, very cool. Sorry.
And Nate's justifiably, is justified with his critique of TABconf.
You're gonna have to do
one day when TABconf becomes a full-time job, and maybe we make some money off of it and like pay staff or whatever, and like actually like take it a bit more serious, we will have a node for the conference. Right now, I'm trying to keep it as little overhead as humanly possible. But that will change in the future as people have more time to put in for passion projects. Bitcoin goes to $250,000. All of a sudden, I might have myself and 3 volunteers that just do TABconf full time. I don't know, whatever. But that's sort of been the bottleneck, is there's no like full-time staff for TABconf. It's all community organized and driven.
You're gonna have to do some damage control with Nate. He's already not happy, and guess what? He wants to know when he's going to be able to buy the stonk.
Yeah, no, I like people like Nate, because without people like Nate, you don't hold conferences accountable and you don't become better. So we need more Nates. We need more beef or bacons type people, because
Agreed.
They're the steel that makes you sharper, that keeps you accountable. And his criticism does not go unnoticed. It's mainly just an economic thing where it doesn't make sense to run a node for the conference where there are no full-time staff and people to kind of, do things and also host the infrastructure in a way that makes sense. So anyways, that's my excuse. I'm sticking with it till 2026.
With it till 2026. Very nice. So look, you've already done the damage control correctly. Boom. Nate beef for bacon. He's happy. He loves you. All right, so let's dive into. This is not good. We've got the not gonna node people here. This is another faction. Bitcoin.
Explain that one. Explain that one to me. Not gonna node.
Yeah. All right. I'll make it as quick as I can. Because I don't want to give it too much attention, because it is an excellent troll, but let them have it. So essentially, right, it's that you can not have a node and still hold Bitcoin and still reap all of the quote unquote rewards, right? Now, of course, for those of us that believe in self-custody, for those of us that are about the censorship resistant nature, the hard cap, the fact that you take self-custody, I can't agree with the not gonna node people. However, I do appreciate the troll. About on knots versus core, right? Because it's like not. Yeah.
Let me respond real quick. So
cool.
Having a node for a business and creating a reliable service versus using a node for your own self-sovereignty, 2 different things in my opinion. I just want to point that out there.
Agreed. Totally.
So if you're trying to provide a reliable way to accept 8-sat payments versus, or for ticketing, versus you're like, hey, I need to make sure when I'm moving Bitcoin around that I'm doing things in a way that makes sense and I have self-sovereignty over my funds. I think, in my opinion, different things. That's my take, at least. Mission critical things, obviously, you're going to want to run your own stuff. For lighthearted or side passion projects, using services that are trustworthy, reliable, that provide good user experiences, actually the most important thing. Now at scale, like for instance at ZBD, we run all of our own infrastructure, obviously, because we're like a payment service provider company that does rewards for video games as well. We're not using like a third-party service for our infrastructure, right? So
yeah, you have your own node.
Yeah. Well, more than just one, right?
Well, yeah, no, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let's dive into the TABconf. So yes, I obviously, we were just discussing the barrier to entry and the GitHub. Which I did find very interesting, but also frustrating, because I had to brush up on my GitHub skills in order to be able to submit a request so that I can do news desk. So I found that very interesting. Now, let me ask you this.
I love it. You realize we had dozens of news desk submissions via email, and only, I think, one so far via GitHub. So if we did things the old-fashioned way, you would have a lot of competition. Just saying. I'm not actually kidding when I said we got a lot of people that requested to have like a news desk sort of thing at TABconf. And the funny part is TABconf isn't even that big of a conference, right? It's a small conference, right?
Doesn't matter.
I'm just saying, like,
yeah,
I think you may have the monopoly on it. I don't know if there's been any other submissions so far, but maybe there has. I don't know. I would need to check. But anyways, so
It's okay.
Hey, the filters work, right? As mechanic, right? as the famous prophet mechanic once said, the filters work.
I have to rescind. You know what? I said that whole debate was just complete garbage. I am wrong. Apparently the filters do work because now I get to do the news desk at TABconf.
Now imagine filter. But really quick, imagine we set up filters where you had to submit a GitHub issue, and then we show up to TABconf and we still have 12 news desks. That's Bitcoin.
I like that.
Yeah, so that's how Bitcoin filters work. That they don't understand, but these filters, in my opinion, work. So
they do work. They definitely do.
Yeah,
and you get an idea of how motivated somebody is, that they really want to do something for TABconf because they are going to go through this. You know, they're going to go through this whole process, and it's like, finally, I got it submitted. That's it.
You're reminding me. Oh, okay.
Oh, no,
you're reminding me. I was walking in a downtown area with some coworkers the other day, and we saw this little tiny box that looked like a cooler, like this like 3D printed cooler that was like really sophisticated and looked really cool. And it was like this little tiny cooler, and it was just sitting on a bench. And it's like, what is this? And then you open it up. There's a QR code inside. You scan it. It puts you on like the scavenger hunt. Eventually, it's just some way of them doing like advertisement for like this like cooler or something, and like how you get like this big discount for it. And you kind of have to do proof of work for it. So kind of reminds me of, it's like effective. You know, you feel good. Like, oh, I made it all the way here. I did something. Now I kind of have to do. You know, kind of. If you give away free tickets without them paying that 8-cent invoice, they might not come. You know.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. More questions here from Nate. Or I should say suggestion. He's thinking a Noster stage at TABconf would be pretty cool. And he is right. Yeah,
he's on GitHub.
So you know what we need? We need Austin from Pleb Devs. I don't know if he's coming to TABconf, but he would be the dude to do the Noster stuff. 100%.
So far, we have BitDevs going to have 2 days. They're going to have a stage for 2 days, the BitDevs group. And we don't currently have any Noster submissions for like a room or anything. So if you are interested in that, submit a GitHub issue and we can see if it's going to work. Otherwise, this is my way of filtering and being nice to say we're not going to do it, right? So, yeah. It's kind of like do you remember what's her name that used to work with Dash or Darkcoin? Amanda B. Johnson. What was her name? Do you remember her?
Oh no, I do.
So not. Amanda B. Johnson was like apparently proposing ideas or whatever for Bitcoin, and then Gavin Andreessen was like, "All right, we'll submit a PR." And she's like, "Wow, see it like," and that was like their way of like saying like, "Okay, good idea, like thanks." Like
exactly. Just follow through with it.
Yeah, until you actually do something, like it's not real. Like, you know,
this is exactly it.
Put in like a quality curated GitHub issue on how this would work and who's actually going to organize it, and we can talk about it. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So tell me, what's got you most excited at TABconf? I looked through the list, right? I'm excited. I'm going to get to meet, finally, I'm going to get to meet the seed signer guy. I've been talking with him for like 5 years. So I'm super excited to meet him. I saw the folks from Bronta, which is this, like I was telling you about before the show, right? There's pretty much the only two people that I know. Bronta guy is they do like a third party, they offer like third party, I think, Bitcoin address validation, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty interesting, right? As like essentially it's like a fail safe, right? To stop you from sending money to an address you didn't mean to, or you thought you were sending to address A, but it turns out you're sending to address B. Kind of like what happened with that Bybit hack, right? Where that third party service got infiltrated, and it turned out that they were sending all of their I don't know if it was Bitcoin or shitcoins, but they sent it all to somebody else.
So the things I'm interested in is I want to have TABconf continue to be a like hacker conference where it's very much like cypherpunky, like we're going to break shit, we're going to build stuff. It's like, unless you actually put in time between now and last year, like you can't just like live off the coattails of your previous accomplishments. Like, what have you built? Like, wow, that's interesting. Let's make sure like people doing new stuff are being brought to the forefront, and being recognized, and their ideas evaluated. And so some of the things, and circle back, some of the things I'm interested in is Zipkin, I think, has like reworked his Warnet idea, where instead of hacking Bitcoin core nodes, we're going to be hacking Lightning nodes. And I'm really excited about that.
Oh,
To
cool.
see what that turns out to be. So forming teams where people try to attack each other's Lightning nodes, I think that's going to be really interesting. There is, I think it's going to be like a 3-hour workshop or something. I don't know. I need to start scheduling this. There is also ideas around that I'm still planning with, like saving Satoshi, like educational type stuff, and thinking of like some ways of, having some sort of like recurring like excellency like program where like you get like some sort of like funny, like fun badge for like saying, hey, I know how like a UTXO works, or I know like how Bitcoin script works, or I know how like, to make a 1 megabyte op return and make everyone happy with my transaction, and send it to Mara badge. Just kidding. But like I'm excited about like the experiments. We're going to be doing. I'm going to be planning like the rotating panel again and the game show again. So I'm excited about those. I'm really excited about the interactive stuff. I'm not necessarily super excited about workshops or talks, and I want the workshops to be very interactive. Sometimes workshops ends up being sort of like demos, like follow along demos.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really excited about the interactive ones that require participation. Those are the ones that I think are the best. And I'm obviously really excited about the CTB this year, the Capture the Bitcoin, and all the clues and little things going around the conference where it's forcing you to learn new concepts to progress in the puzzle for the Bitcoin prize this year. That's always something I personally focus on. The one thing that I think is really important that I want to start this year is a recurring sort of web of trust identity verification thing where you are able to meet people, verify with them, like almost like in Signal, how you like verify numbers and stuff, or whatever it might be, using Nostr or PGP or Bitcoin keys, whatever it might be, like coming up with something where, because I do think that this is going to be a problem in the future where all media content, all digital media is going to be essentially, you're not going to know if it's real or fake. And having this sort of web of trust where you can verify whether or not someone's been compromised, whether or not someone is actually posting as themselves, or whatever, or that their key has been compromised, and like, hey, I need to like tell my people. So you have like a web of trust, sort of be like, hey, 3 of Phil's direct friends said he's compromised, and I'm friends with those friends, probably means I need to update my keys with Phil. Having like robust systems where it's like, hey, I want to, in the future, like I have like some sort of like covenant, or I will have some sort of like spending condition or some sort of key that's like, hey, if I ever lose my funds, this web of trust controls like 1 of 4 keys, sort of like kind of like Frost multi-sig idea. Anyways, I think there's a lot of applications for a web of trust. And I think we tried it a couple years ago with Merch. He was trying to do like a PGP signing party. It didn't necessarily like really take off all too well. But I think, especially with like AI getting so good with quick video and image generation, I think it's probably only going to get better. We're going to get to the point where no one knows really what's real without some sort of like, hey, this was with an this picture was taken with an HSM, and here's a verification system and this web of trust thing, and like, hey, like we're gonna like need all these things. And I think like what better place to sort of like think about this than Bitcoin transaction keys, and also like, hey, I know what they're posting about knots, or what they're posting about Bitcoin version 30, or their commits are like real, and knowing like, hey, the most important project the community around that has built like this sort of web of trust idea that's like robust. And like maybe this is, you know, me being optimistic, and some people are like, oh, you're wasting your time. But I think enough people optimistic about like a web of trust idea is going to make it like actually be a thing. So that's something I want to start this year. There's ideas of doing this with like DIDs, and there's like, I think block spaces or something. Someone else is like doing stuff with this. And like, there's so many like ideas like with Noster as well. So I don't know what this looks like, but I want to at least have a time slot for it that can at least kick it off this year. So every year we come back to it, we're making it better. Similarly with like Meshtastic, last year all we did was just buy devices and let people network with each other, like actually like solder and like create their own little like networking device, and then be able to communicate without internet or Wi-Fi, you know, without a data plan needing to be on. Just with Bluetooth, they can talk to other people. You know, that was like version 1 of this. Version 2, maybe someone does a hackathon where it's like, hey, I'm sending a raw transaction over, you know, the Meshtastic, you know, network now. And maybe that's like my way of, you know, doing a proof of concept where it's like I can broadcast more anonymously, you know, without needing a, you know, computer with like an audit trail to that's like connected to the internet or something. So I'm really interested in like the hacker sort of building stuff for the conference and seeing how that evolves. My ideal conference is the talks are very rare and selective, and when there are talks, they're like bangers, you know. So you know, someone going up there and talking for an hour plus or 30 minutes plus, it's hard to keep everyone's attention and have something that's like really important. You know, I feel like even like when you're at work and meetings, people are like listening in, but they're also like sending emails, and they're also like working. And it's just like, what talk is going to keep everyone's attention? And it's actually really good because people need to hear this, and it's actually going to further the space and this, you know. Anyways, my ideal TABconf has very few talks, and the talks that are of there are bangers. Everything else is pretty much interactive or building or something like this.
I appreciate that, and I love the direction that you're talking about with the web of trust and decentralized IDs. So that, I mean, I don't know if you know who the account. I think his name is Daniel CSU Wild or something like that. It's, anyways, he worked for Microsoft. He was working on the DID project himself. He might be somebody to tap to, you know, to maybe do a presentation or something about that as well. There's fellow Bitcoiner. I think you've spoken to him too as well, Liron. I've had him on the show before. I'm pretty sure you've met him. He also has, if I'm not mistaken, has done some work with decentralized IDs. I could send you his profile later. But yeah, man, it's, you know, I think that's definitely the right track. At the very least, it's the proper conversation to be having, because the writing is on the wall. Like, it's funny that you mentioned this about the fake videos. I know it's not Bitcoin related, but this morning I saw I saw a post, and it, to me, looked AI generated, but supposedly it's not, and that kind of got me worried, right? Because I'm like, wait a second, I can't even, normally I thought that I could tell when something is AI generated for the most part, but now all of a sudden I don't know, you know.
What's funny is like, you know that like horrendous, disgusting, not even funny at all video of the newscaster like saying like, oh, a plane crash, it was Captain something Wong, we too low, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, disgusting, right? So I was showing that to someone because they never saw it, and it's a mandatory watch because you know, have to see it at least once. You know, although it's disgusting, don't absolutely, I want to vomit every time I watch it. All right, anyways, so we're watching it, and the first response is, "Oh, this is fake. That's AI," because it seems so ridiculous.
Right?
So now, you know, going back to your point, you're actually over guessing it's AI now, right? Because now if something hilarious happens, if something terrible happens, if something tragic happens, something disgusting happens, you're gonna be like, "Oh, that's AI." Like maybe as like a default because it's so ridiculous, right?
It's so true.
Yeah. So it's like
We can't even
everyone's
trust
growing up,
ourselves.
right? So I think, you know, Web of Trust stuff in combination with like HSMs are probably going to be part of the solution. I don't know what it ultimately looks like, but I want TABconf to at least, see this as a focus of the conference, as well as freedom sort of communication without being spied on, like by even circumventing the internet, right? I'm saying like mesh networks, using protocols that aren't easily snooped on as easy as computer ISP logs, whatever, central providers of, communication data. There's obviously you can add encryption as many times as you want on layers of layers of layers, but just having the network itself not be easily identified is actually a really cool aspect, which this is another like focus. So like being able to trust people, freedom communication, where you can not be censored at all, like and not know, if you're trying to propagate something, you don't necessarily know where the source is, stuff like this. These are all like, Bitcoin is more than just Bitcoin. It's like the tertiary things around it. And that's kind of like what I think TABconf is going to be long-term. It's Bitcoin plus everything that makes Bitcoin successful, which is going to be a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's definitely
eventually the end goal is to have a full room that you like get on like a bicycle and like crank these pedals and like all these gears start turning and we like sign signatures without a computer at all. It's just like a bunch of gears that Andrew Polstra has created. And it like, it's like, beep, 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 beep. It's like, hey, you can't hack this. It's just like gears, like mechanical gears that like, end up writing out this like signature, and then you scan into a computer and it's like, boom, never even had to touch a computer. It's like and then having like Taiwan and South Korea come and like we, learn how to make like a super nice silicon chip at TABconf. We spend like a few $billion after, the Bitcoin treasury that Nate was talking about, the TABconf treasury. Maybe we start like a chip fab, side thing. It's all like things like around Bitcoin to make Bitcoin successful. So, that's how I kind of see it long term. Is so, for instance, if people are like really into Nostr, and that is like some sort of like there's a lot of like overlap with communication and ideas of doing like comms with back and forth, like whether it be async or synchronous sort of like signature aggregation or whatever. Like these are all things sort of like related to Bitcoin at the end of the day.
As you were explaining this, all I could think of is analog multi-party signature scheme. Boom. Nice. That's whatever you guys can use that if you want. Doesn't mean anything, but it sounds like it could be incredible. Okay.
Can't wait for that GitHub submission, Phil.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'll make a copy of my other one and just change the words. I think I can do that. I think I can.
By the way, it's right now what's been proposed is there's like some things on the back burner about DIDs. And there's some stuff with like a new sort of idea with like hardware and NFC sort of things with identity. And then there's also the Spaces protocol that's been submitted. So these are the current ideas that have been sort of submitted so far at TABconf in relation. The DID stuff is still, I think, super draft, so it's not quite ready yet. But these are all things to sort of address that, maybe like tackle version 0 of the Web of Trust TABconf thing.
I love it. I'm super excited. You gonna make new t-shirts? Yeah, I have to ask about the swag. You gonna have a TABconf number 7 t-shirt and do the presenters and stuff? Get one.
So you see?
Oh, sweet.
So localhost made these shirts. So we're not like stingy with the TABconf brand. If someone wants to make like awesome swag, you can just bring it to the conference. I mean, the conference is the people's conference. I mean, we obviously have a company that runs the conference, but we're not like, if you're doing something that like seems right, you could probably just do it. You can just do things. You can just make swag. So and then if if you do something that like crosses the line, we'll let you know, but you don't necessarily need to like preemptively ask for permission as much as you probably think you need to. Like, just kind of use your best judgment. It's still a small enough conference where I feel like I can do that. I can say that. I mean, if the conference potentially in the future becomes like DEF CON, it gets like out of hand, like 10,000 people, like maybe we make like more stricter rules and stuff. But I mean, the conference is like 500 people less. It's like 200 to 500 people usually. So it's like, it's a pretty, like, you want to make swag, like no one's going to get upset. So BitDev's local host made this, and I love their shirt. We didn't make this, so if you make, the real question is, what swag are you going to make and bring that I can wear, Phil?
Well, okay, and to your point, I will be bringing Pleb Underground swag to give away, right? And it's all courtesy of Proof of Ink. Yeah. So
will you potentially make a TABconf exclusive Pleb Underground swag edition?
Damn it. I didn't think of this. I guess now you're putting me on the spot. So let me speak to John at Proof of It. No, I will. I mean, that's not a bad idea. It's pretty good. You know,
I mean, that's what local hosts and BitDevs are doing. So that's the only reason I'm asking. If you want the any sort of like PNGs or whatever for like the TABconf 7 stuff, just hit me up and I'll send it to you.
I will. I will, and I probably should get some of that done. And if it's okay with you, it's also going to say Pleb Underground. So yeah.
I mean, it's your shirt.
Is it? But it's a TABconf shirt. Anyways,
it's okay. Yeah, like I said, TABconf. Like no one's pissed me off so far. Like I think we're good. We just keep going with it and see. You know, just
did you just issue
we don't make too many preemptive rules. You know, like. Let's see how things go before we start making any hard rules with swag, you know.
Tony saying, "Remember the taco plebs." Come on, Tony. I am a taco pleb. Look behind me. Good taco plebs. Always. But yes, we're definitely gonna. I'm gonna speak to John about doing a TABconf shirt, and I'm gonna get some PNGs from Tidwell. All right, we are gonna move on here to the podcast that you're doing. Let's see here. Block time. All right. So you looked around at all of the extremely successful Bitcoin Signal podcasts, right? And you decided, I'm going to make my own extremely successful Bitcoin Signal podcast. That's my preface. Why you're doing this.
Funny enough, the reason we started Block Time was because there were no other good podcasts at the time. And that was back when Bitcoin Uncensored sort of dissolved completely. So then we kind of leaned into it more. And then, you know, Block Time, we like put more effort into it. I'm like revitalizing Block Time. I sort of like was doing like one episode a year, like kind of like as a funny thing, like to keep it alive and like also like make sure it wasn't getting stolen by like other people, like Pierre Richard or whatever, like try to steal it for some reason. I'm not sure why. He didn't even like talk to me, but like I feel like okay, can you blame him? I wasn't even like recording anything. So now it's like he's like kind of like at least holding me accountable, like to keep going with it. So I have a couple episodes that are going to be posting probably in September. I don't know if I'll have time to post in August, but they're going to be pretty short, 10 minutes or less kind of podcast videos with people. The thing about it is like, I think it started in 2016 or 17. I think, I can't remember when we started it. I started the Tab meetup. So Tab started as a meetup in 2016 and like early 2016, 2015 kind of, and then it became a conference over time. I think we started Block Time around 2017 or 2017, 2018 when Bitcoin Uncensored dissolved. Then we started filming like weekly. But yeah, we also what I found is if you have a successful podcast, it's very stressful because then people get upset with you.
That's why I'm not.
And at that time, like I've always worked full time in the industry, like in IT or Bitcoin or whatever. And when you're working and your full-time job is not the podcast, and then you interview someone and you have like this really awesome like conversation and like the super crazy controversy that you uncover or whatever, and then you get an email or a call that says, hey, if you don't take that down, I'm going to lose my job. It puts a lot of stress on you, because then it's like, well, is this like podcast my job now, or is this a hobby? So that's one of the main reasons we stopped doing block time originally, is because there was this like a couple points in time where things got really popular. Like we're trending like number one on Reddit when we're covering like the Jihan Wu, controversy with war. Yeah. Because we got like an employee from BitPay to like come on to the show and like, discuss it with us. And he gave probably like a lot of privileged information. So that was like a really, really awesome episode. And these are like all things where it's like, well, if you want to be a journalist, you kind of have to go all in. You can't just be like a hobbyist journalist. So block time now is going to be a little bit more lighthearted, and not like, we're probably not going to like be breaking any news to you. We're just going to be giving you like takes on things, if that makes sense.
If it's any consolation, the majority of the shows that are breaking news to you aren't actually breaking any news. They just put the word breaking in caps.
Right. I'm saying like we're like block time is going to be like everyone else. We're going to suck. No, I was kidding.
No. Hey, whoa. Come on.
No, I mean, hey, I'm putting myself with everyone else is what I'm trying to say. Like it's not gonna compete with anyone, which I really like, because it's gonna be in a format that is going to be very, very unique going forward.
I like that. I'm looking forward to it. And just so you know, now at this point, I've heard of like 2 or 3 different types of shows like this, right? Where it's an evolution, right? Where these people have decided to change the course of the content for this space. So I'm really excited to see what that show's all about. And I am going to obviously ask if I can be on the show, because I like funny things and I want to have fun with Mike and that wheel behind you. I want to spin the wheel, it's good times, man. Who doesn't want to spin the wheel? Even if you didn't have words on it, I'd want to spin it just to see what color I got.
Yeah.
It's good times.
Right now it's on can you read this one?
I mean, I'm old. Something about a spook. I see the word spook. Am I right? Am I close?
Yeah. It says Rob is a spook.
Wait, which Rob Hamilton?
It's just a joke. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Rob.
Don't think too much into it.
I'm gonna think very much into it. I'm actually gonna go and I've got a whiteboard behind this green screen that you don't see, and there's a whole bunch of dots, and now I'm adding Rob to the spook list. So that's what's happening there.
I
like Rob though.
Can I show something real quick?
Of course you can. Are you kidding me? Pleb Underground. You can say almost anything.
Are we like towards the end of the conference?
Yeah, I was about to do. I was about to wrap it up.
Okay, so
and ask you what you want to show.
Yeah, so these are my shill items for anyone still watching. Is come to TABconf October 13th through 16th in Atlanta. We're trying to do meaningful stuff with our time. It's a conference where I want to somehow measure success. I want to really make an impact with our time there. It's not going to be a conference where we talk about Bitcoin is a good idea. It's going to be talking about what's next. It's for the people who already have decided Bitcoin is an interesting, good idea. What can I actually do? These are the people I want to come to the conference, no matter what your technical expertise is. The other thing is after TABconf, I'm going to be continuing development on a video game that is Bitcoin related, that will be pushing all the newest fun technologies of Bitcoin in a video game format. And that's called SatoshiSettlers.com. So Satoshi, SETTLERS.com. So Satoshi Settlers the idea is to make it Bitcoin in and out, where eventually as things take off, like for instance, ARC or Taproot assets or whatever, things become more normalized and stuff. I think it'd be fun to have a interactive place to use all these different things. For instance, I'm even going as far as wanting to eventually integrate bid axes into the game, where if you mine a share of a certain difficulty, you can have it affect your area on the map. So these are all just things that I wanted to shill before. Yeah. So this is just the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yep.
Every tile is a block, and every 10 minutes the map gets a little bit bigger as it grows outward. So
it's so crazy.
I'll leave it for you to read the about page, and it's very feature incomplete right now. But if you want to take a look at it and see kind of where the vision is going for it, the idea is to do really, really fun stuff with this in the future. I'll be working on that probably starting mid to late October after TABconf again, and really be pushing out a lot of features. So like I said, one big one is your BitAxe, it's mining, but what can you do with those additional shares, and how can you share it off and have fun with it? Well, route some of those shares to me, and I can display that for you in a fun way. What all the transactions are being posted to Noster. There's different aspects of it using Lightning, and I want to include ARC payments when those get a little bit more standardized, which just recently happened. So yeah, that's pretty much my last shill.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, look, we're definitely going to add Satoshi Settlers to the show notes. There's also a link to TABconf, right? Ticket prices very reasonable. We don't have a special ref link or anything like that. But no special discount. No,
because the tickets are so cheap. You get breakfast 4 days a week, or you get breakfast and lunch 4 days, and you get after parties included. Yeah, so lunch and breakfast included, after parties included. The ticket price is just there to help us break even on each person coming. So it's definitely not a waste of money, and I think you're going to be happy with all the free stuff that you get at the conference, just regardless.
I feel like such a huge jerk for last year. Well, anyway.
No. The whole point is no judgment. Just come. The best thing is come, get rich eventually, and then help the conference. So
I'm working on it.
Yeah. So your goal should be come to TABconf, build stuff and get rich, and then support us when you're rich. Boom.
This is the goal. I like it.
If you're not rich, don't worry about taking advantage of us, because we want you to come so you can build stuff. And I've never been happier about forcing people to come to TABconf and then their lives actually changing legitimately and changing Bitcoin. It's one of the best feelings I have to make people rich. So come, get rich with knowledge, get rich with friends, get rich with income, build stuff, have fun, do what your passion tells you want to do, and then support us, going forward.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Oh, sorry. Anything else?
That's it, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, man. Absolutely. And guys, everything that Mike was talking about, it's all in the show notes. The link to TABconf, the link to Satoshi Settlers. Mike, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I am looking forward to hanging out with you at TABconf. That's right. This year, I'm actually making it. Phil's leaving his couch. I hate when I do the third person shit. And Ulrich is also going to be joining me. We're both going to be doing the news desk there, going around annoying everybody at TABconf to get them to talk on screen. Dude, thank you again for joining me on the show. This was really cool.
Man, thanks for having me.
All right, good stuff. Stick around. Don't leave here. We're going to end the show. Guys, have a great weekend. You know the deal. We're going to be back on Monday. I've got a whole bunch of sloppy news coming out. Mike's spinning the wheel. Everyone's having fun. Guys, Pleb Underground, signal without the slop. Do it. Have a good one.